Last of Us is the hot new HBO hit. We're 3 episodes in. I'm gonna immediately go to John Iadarola to kind of set up the premise of the show, because I don't want to ruin it. John, take it away.
Sure, so the basic idea is that there have been 2 amazing video games, The Last of Us and Last of Us 2. This show, The Last of Us on HBO, is apparently telling the story of the first of those video games. Basically in the TV version in 2003, there was this fungal infection outbreak, which basically turned people into fungal zombies. Most of the story takes place 20 years later. It starts off in what's left of Boston, and you have Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel, and he is tasked with protecting this young girl, Ellie. And so that's basically where we're at in the story now, is we've had a couple of episodes of setting up the world, what actually caused a pandemic. I think they refer to it as a pandemic at some point. And the sort of growing kind of trust and maybe relationship between Joel and Ellie in this incredibly dangerous world.
Yeah, so let's touch on the relationship between Joel and Ellie, because I think that evolved in an interesting way. Now, Joel really had no interest in saving Ellie, but Joel was pressured to save Ellie for a very specific reason. What is that?
Are you talking about because Tess wanted it, or are you talking about the biological reason?
Why did Tess want? First of all, who is Tess, and why did Tess want?
Tess is a longtime partner of Joel's. He doesn't put a label on it, but she would probably like to. In any event, Ellie appears to be the first person ever who is immune to the fungal infection. She was able to be bitten by one of the infected, and she's actually healing. That's not what's supposed to happen. Within a couple minutes to a day, you're supposed to turn into effectively a zombie and gradually decay from there, potentially turning into something called a clicker, which is this like blind zombie.
Super scary.
Super aggressive and can hear really well.
Yeah, but can't see.
Yes, and Tess was early on was willing to believe that Ellie is actually immune. He was a little bit more resistant to that. He's heard these sorts of things before. But, and again, this is a spoiler, as of the 3rd episode, he appears to have accepted it.
Totally, yeah. He appears to have accepted it because there have been multiple instances in which Ellie could have been infected, but didn't get infected.
And has progressively healed from it.
Exactly, yes. Okay, so with that said, I do want to focus most of our review and commentary on the 3rd episode, because I love the 3rd episode. I thought it was the strongest. Just real quick, I continued watching the show mostly because my husband loves it. But the first 2 episodes, even though I was still entertained watching it, I felt like it was just a different version of The Walking Dead.
Look, there are obviously some genre tropes that are gonna be common in a lot of zombie stuff. I think that this is a more interesting world, and I think there's much more society right off the bat. I think that the flashbacks you get to before the infection happens are really interesting, Last of Us, and we didn't especially have a ton of that, at least at the point when I was watching Walking Dead, because eventually, like most people, I gave up. I find this to be more interesting. I think that Craig Mazin, who created it and wrote it, well, not created it, Neil Druckmann from the Naughty Dog created it, but he also created Chernobyl. Is just really good. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to inject a ton of theme and symbolism and just interest in super high production values.
Yes.
So it's an HBO show.
The makeup, the prosthetics that they use for the clickers
I think we have a photo of that maybe we can bring up.
Incredible, yeah, let's go to graphic 6, because it's just amazing. I mean, and very, yeah.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And beautiful, but creepy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just remember as we were watching it and we saw the first clicker, I was like, man, that is absolutely terrifying, but also in a weird way, very beautiful, right?
They nailed, like I played and beat both of the video games, they nailed it. That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the 3rd episode. So there you have some imagery of the artists working on, and that's the other thing. I'm always mostly because my brain is not like set up this way in like this creative way. I'm always like so fascinated by people who design the costumes and the makeup and all of that for shows like this. Just really great work. Okay, now let's talk about the 3rd episode. So in the 3rd episode, we, I think, meet for the first time, right? One of my favorite characters now, Bill.
So he's been referenced, but it is the first time we're meeting.
Yeah, he was referenced earlier, but the 3rd episode is where you get to meet Bill, right? And Joel and Ellie were trying to get to Bill and Frank, Bill and Frank are partners, right? Now, Bill was a prepper. Which, there he is. He also played Ron Swanson, of course, in Parks and Rec. So he kind of is the same person.
Yeah, I haven't really seen much Parks and Rec, so I'm not familiar.
So he's like this libertarian local government worker in Parks and Rec who wants to be self-reliant and wants to like destroy government from within. Like that's his role in Parks and Rec. But in this show, he's this prepper who clearly was prepared because he is completely sustainable. Like I don't know how he's growing his food or whatever, but he's got gourmet meals every night as the world's burning from this insane pandemic. And then all of a sudden he comes across Frank, who ends up becoming his partner, right? Okay, so I want you to take it away because I don't know, man. I didn't see Bill as gay before. I don't think
before it's revealed?
Before it's revealed, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely in the moments leading up to the reveal. There's a lot of hints and stuff like that.
Oh, there are. I missed it.
From when they're eating, and there's a lot of looks and there's comments and stuff like that. But no, not before. I don't think there's any reason to have any idea about his sexuality.
Anyway, I loved that episode because it showed how their relationship evolved, and I'm gonna cry. I got emotional in this episode. Big
yes,
time.
We're definitely gonna talk a lot about the relationship. What I like about the beginning of it is that the episode isn't even just about them. You do get this sort of framing story of Ellie and Joel, but once we jump to him, you very quickly, a minute in, he's now your guy. He's going around, he's going to Home Depot, he's putting up stuff. It's all really cool and you're invested in it.
Yeah.
And then when you see Frank in the hole, you're like, oh no. Because this is a setting that, because it's post-apocalyptic, can have so much stakes. Any individual is, this might end up killing you.
Yep.
And you're immediately thinking, oh my God, if he lets him in, this guy is gonna betray him and he's gonna die, it's gonna ruin everything, he's gonna bring more people, he's being so friendly, but that's just a ruse.
Yes,
so that's what I loved about it.
Me too, there was a lot of tension. I felt a lot of tension watching that scene. But pretty soon, they develop this relationship, and you can see how, Bill goes from being kind of untrusting, hesitant, to really allowing himself to feel the emotions and engage in this relationship with Frank. And I don't know, I just love that dynamic. And I don't know why I'm like hesitating in sharing too much about the episode. I think it's because if you haven't seen it,
at this point,
we've shared too much.
It's either spoiled or they've watched it, so.
Yeah, it's, especially in a situation like that. I mean, think about how lonely, yes, he was self-sufficient. He didn't need anyone per se to survive because he's a prepper and he thought of everything miraculously, right? But think about how lonely that existence was.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of things to keep his mind, occupied, but it had to be super lonely. And then also I think, look, I forget exactly when he meets Frank. It might have been 3 or 4 years in or something like that. But they spend a great deal of time, 17 years or something together. It's also like their relationship is not presented as universally awesome all the time.
No.
And how could it be? I mean, like for years and years, it's just them two. We've been through the pandemic now. You had to be, close quarters with mostly just Christian. I was living in one room with my wife.
My God, yeah.
We did that for a few months, maybe a year, before we eventually moved out to a bigger place. But think about what it would be like for largely one person, no TV, no nothing, 17 years.
Oh, I mean, it's interesting because like obviously this is a gay relationship, right? But I could relate to it so much because in terms of temperament, personality, introverted traits, I definitely relate to Bill. And Frank is more social. Frank wants to socialize with others, bring others in. And since Bill is kind of terrified of people betraying them or some of the safety concerns associated with that, he's hesitant, but you can tell that he loves Bill so much that he kind of loosens up and allows it to happen.
Yeah, and even at the end, it's not like he's 100% different by the end.
No,
I like that he's still the more guarded and restrained and hesitant of the two.
Yeah.
But it's two different approaches to how you live your life. Like Bill is very much the prepper mentality. It is not worth it to take these risks if that could result in me dying. But if you didn't take those risks, then what's the point of living at all? Like, first of all, you wouldn't have had the relationship with Frank.
Right.
But then even once you did, you wouldn't have met other people, talked to them. They've enriched your life by just purely material things they bring in, but then also the experience. Like, what would your life be if you did everything to minimize the risk to you? And the risk is real. They get attacked and all of that. They could have died at any given time. It is super scary, but you still have to live your life. And I think it's obviously designed to make us think about Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
Because Joel is not Bill in the beginning, but he lives a pretty specific sort of life and he's not interested in extra risks.
Exactly, he's not interested in extra risk. And you can see the relationship between Joel and Ellie kind of develop, right? In a positive direction where he goes from not really trusting her, thinking that her story about immunity is BS, to with the help of Tess really, because Tess was the one who wanted to get Ellie to Bill and Frank to see if there was something they can do to figure out why it is that she is immune from this fungal infection. And Joel was not really buying it until at one point Tess gets bitten.
Yeah.
Right? And so the last thing she told him before she died, sacrificed herself, and she did that by blowing up like a building she was in as a bunch of these clickers were chasing them, right? So she did that intentionally because she knew she was gonna become a clicker, she was gonna die anyway, right? Eventually. And then she was like, let me blow up this building so the clickers don't go after Joel and Ellie. But before that happened, she told Joel, yo, you gotta get her to Bill and Frank ASAP, please do this. And I think that was the final persuading factor for Joel, and he went for it. Like he decided, okay, fine, I'm gonna.
Yeah, and I think, look, also naturally, I think he is predisposed to play a sort of paternal protecting thing. He had that with his daughter for many, many years, and now we have to believe that he was with Tess for at least like 16 years. He had that.
Yep.
He may not have, because of the traumatic experience of the pandemic, he never was like super open with her, again, kind of like Bill in the beginning, but he's also predisposed to protect things, I think.
Yep.
So anyway, look, I'm really enjoying it. The next episode seems like it's going to be very actiony. It's going to be a huge change, it feels like, from this one. I hope that people watch it. I hope that they realize that there are amazing stories being told in video games. Like this episode isn't super similar to what actually happened in the game, but the game has an amazing story. The second one, playing the second Last of Us, was one of the most like gut-wrenching story experience I've ever had in my life. I've read
like a blast.
So many books. No, but it's just so amazing. And I cannot wait until they eventually make that. That's gonna be in this show eventually. And it's going to blow people's minds, the things that happen.
Final thing I'll say is HBO might be the only streaming service that I pay for every month, and it's worth it.
That's the only streaming service you pay for every month?
No. The only one I pay for, and I feel like it's always worth it.
Oh, sure.
You know, like I'm gonna cancel my Netflix pretty soon because I don't even watch Netflix right now.
I have a few things, but yeah, I mean, they've got House of the Dragon and they have The Last of Us.
They have all the good shows.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's good shows on everything, but
they have all the good shows.
You don't watch the Marvel shows, I understand that, but.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.